levels of consciousness of Jivanmukta. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. That is full, this is full. The full comes out of the full. Taking the full from the full itself remains. A person who realizes this truth while alive is a Jivanmukta. Moksha, the ultimate goal of human life. Among the four goals of human life, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, Moksha is considered to be the ultimate, as the attainment of which is permanent and gives supreme bliss. Moksha, also known as Mukti, is of two types, Jivanmukti and Videhamukti. Attainment of the final emancipation during one's lifetime is Jivanmukti, while attainment of the same after death is Videhamukti. The concept of Jivanmukti is a unique feature in Indian philosophy. Though the concept of Jivanmukti, liberation while living, appears to be contradictory in terms, it can be attained during one's lifetime. As false knowledge is the cause of bondage, one can become liberated by the removal of the same. In the language of the Upanishads, liberation means asariratvam, bodilessness. The self, also known as supreme consciousness, is bodiless and immutable. It is free from limitations of time, space, objects, and is the substratal principle of everything. It is supra-rational, but it appears to be present in the bodies which are impermanent due to the false identification, and it becomes sasarira, embodied, and appears to be reduced to an individual self. Here, the bodies present themselves in three different forms: gross, subtle, and causal. Three bodies and five sheaths. As analyzed in the Upanishads, the human frame consists of three bodies and five sheaths. The bodies are gross, subtle, and causal, and sheaths are Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. For example, the shell of a tamarind corresponds to the gross body, the pulp represents the subtle body, the seed corresponds to causal body. To explain the same in a scientific way, ice represents the gross body, water represents the subtle body, and H2O represents the causal body. Practice of Vedanta by Sivananda Saraswati. The gross body, also known as physical body, is made up of five elements. They are earth, water, fire, air, and space. It contains the Annamaya Kosha, the food sheath. It disintegrates into its component parts only after death. This body is the resultant product of our karmas. We experience the existence of this body in waking state. When the karmas are fried up on the dawn of Brahmajnana, we no longer take up any new body. Subtle body. This is composed of 17 elements and represents three sheaths, namely the sheath of vital force, Pranamaya Kosha, mind, Manomaya Kosha, and intellect, Vijnanamaya Kosha. The elements constitute five sensory organs such as skin, eye, ear, tongue, and nose, and five motor organs such as mouth, hand, leg, anus, and genital organ, and five vital forces, namely prana, apana, vyana, udana, and samana, and mind and intellect. This body is very subtle and more expansive than physical body. The subtle body inside the physical body is compared to be a bladder in a football. It is the seat of desires and emotions. It is this body that goes to heaven and hell and comes back after experiencing the fruit of its actions. Death means the separation of the subtle body from the physical body. It is the subtle body that operates in dream state. This body has the capacity to expand and contract. It contracts in small creatures and expands in big animals. The subtle body will get dissolved only after Videha Mukti. Physical body cannot do anything without the help of this subtle body. Causal body. The causal body is the cause of the two other bodies. It is formed of the ultra fine mental energies of causal matter and contains the impressions in a seed form. This body accommodates Anandamaya Kosha and functions in deep sleep. Atman is distinct from these three bodies. So, it is neither physical body, nor subtle body, nor even causal body. It is beyond these three. It is a pure being, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. But it is misunderstood as the individual self or false self due to the identification of the body and senses which have no independent existence. This identification is really a mistaken knowledge, and this mistaken knowledge is not the outcome of an indescribable matter. This misidentification of the Atman with the body mind complex is in the experience of everyone. This false identification has no beginning or end, but this can be sublimated by the right knowledge of the real self. Making one thing for other is the result of not knowing the real nature of that particular thing. Knowing the Atman as the body mind complex and body mind complex as the Atman is a mistaken knowledge. We have conceived difference between ourselves and the supreme reality owing to this mistaken knowledge only. If this mistaken knowledge is realized as such by the right knowledge, it is stultified by the true knowledge which results in self-realization. Then the Atman, which is the core of one's being, reveals himself as pure being, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. The stultification of the mistaken knowledge and the birth of the new knowledge of one's true being, the all-pervading Atman, are two events that happen simultaneously on approaching and receiving the instructions from a Guru who is both a Jnani and a Tattvadrasi. Here, Tejo Bindu Upanishad summarizes the nature of Jivanmukta as follows. Dehatrayatiriktoham Suddha Chaitanyamasmyaham Brahmahamiti Yasyantaha Sajivanmukta Uchyate. He alone is said to be liberated while alive, who realizes that he is neither gross body, nor subtle body, nor even causal body, but a pure being, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. The statements such as Brahmaveda Brahmaiva Bhavati, which means the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman, and Tasya Tavadeva Chiram Yavanna Vimokshe Adasampatsya, which also means that the person who is liberated remains here only so long as he is not released from the body, and the moment he is relieved from the body, he reaches perfection, establishes the concept of Jivanmukta. Mundakopanishad describes the process of realization of supreme reality in a wonderful manner. Vidyate Hrudaya Grandhihi Chijyante Sarva Samsayaha Shiyante Jasya Karmani Tasmin Drushte Paravare. On the realization of the supreme reality, which is effect as well as cause itself, the knot of the heart, the identifying factor of the body with the self is unraveled, all doubts are destroyed, and karmas, the latent impressions, are annihilated. Here, one may question that if all actions are annihilated on the realization of Supreme Self, how can the body of a liberated soul sustain? The answer given by Sri Shankaracharya, the exponent of Advaita philosophy, is as follows. Karma, that is action, good or evil, is of three kinds: Prarabdha, Sanchita, and Agami. Prarabdha is a portion of the past karmas to be worked out in the present life. Sanchita is the accumulated karma from previous births, and Agami karma is the current karma, the result of which will fructify in future. On the dawn of the knowledge of the Supreme Self, the nescience which leads to the false identification of the spirit with the mind, senses, and body vanishes. The knot between the chit and achit cut, and the accumulated karmas will be destroyed. The agami karma will not affect and prarabdha will be enjoyed, and then he will become one with the ultimate reality. To explain such a condition, Sri Shankaracharya gives an analogy. Although living, he does not bear the notion of I or mine with reference to the gross and the subtle bodies, and their characteristics are as before. Just as a snake towards the skin, it has sloughed off upon an ant hill, even so, the Jivanmukta does not have any sense of belonging towards the body in which he continues to live for some time. He, in order to further support his argument, says that as a potter's wheel goes on revolving after the vessel that it was formed is completed, so the body, which was necessary till the attainment of true knowledge, may continue to exist even after the rise of knowledge. Muktika Upanishad describes the state as the state of Jivanmukti, and according to it, the saints by whom the Atmajnana is attained live till their fruit yielding actions are exhausted. This Jivanmukti state can be achieved by any true seeker under the guidance of a living Guru. The statement Acharyavan Purusho Veda, person who has a living Guru attains knowledge, supports this view. Types of Jivanmuktas. The nature of pure consciousness is to some extent revealed to us by the statements and the activities of those Jivanmuktas. Though the bliss experienced by them is one and the same, their activities are different, and the difference constitutes the goal and mission of their life. Vidyaranya, in his Jivanmukti Viveka, avers that they can be categorized into innumerable types depending upon their nature, status achieved, priorities decided, and activities, both worldly and spiritual, taken up to accomplish. And while discussing the characteristics of Jivanmuktas, it describes 7 stages. The first stage of cognition is called auspicious will. It consists of the right desire to cross the ocean of samsara, the cycle of birth and death, and the attainment of the knowledge of Brahman through satsang. Satsang is an essential first step without which liberation is not possible. Shankara also speaks of the importance of satsang by saying that satsang leads to detachment, Detachment leads to non-delusion, and non-delusion leads to steadiness of mind, which ultimately leads to liberation. Satsangatve nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve jivanmukti. Bhajigovinda Sot. The second stage is called discrimination. In this stage, he starts inquiring into the nature of ultimate reality and also this world. The desire to know the reality through the study of scriptures, association with the holy men, and observance of non-attachment are the hallmarks of the sadhaka in this stage of discrimination. Who am I? How can I cross this ocean of phenomenal existence? What is to be my fate? Which of the means should I adopt? Oh God, save me by describing the way to put an end to this misery of this relative existence. Will be his constant prayer. The third stage is called attenuate mindedness. When the attachment to sense objects becomes attenuated by the exercise of auspicious will and discrimination, is called attenuated minded. In this stage, he knows the nature of the ultimate reality, namely the Brahman, not experientially but indirectly through intellect by analyzing the difference between consciousness and awareness. Awareness is primordial. It is the original state, beginningless, endless, uncaused, without parts, without change. Consciousness is, on contract, a reflection against a surface, a state of duality. There can be no consciousness without awareness, but there can be awareness without consciousness, as in deep sleep. Awareness is absolute, consciousness is relative to the content. Consciousness is always of something. Consciousness is partial and changeable, while awareness is total, changeless, calm, and silent. And it is the common matrix of every experience. These three stages are the only means to the indirect knowledge of Brahman and are not included in the knowledge proper as much as the sense of reality of variety of not dissolving these three stages. For this reason, they are supposed to constitute the waking state of Jivanmukta. The reality is perceived by him like the world in the waking state. In the fourth stage, all the vasanas of the sadhaka are uprooted. He realizes Brahman directly. The experiential knowledge of the Brahman that he now possesses is incontrovertible and beyond a shadow of doubt. He then experiences the direct and undifferentiated awareness of oneness of the Supreme Self and the individual self, Brahman and Atman. Study of and reflection of the Vedanta texts and guidance of a competent Guru from the firm foundation for such a supreme realization. The stage is called the stage of enlightenment and it is the natural consequence of previous three states. He experiences the nature of Brahman, the material cause of the world, pure existence in essence, and only the reality without a second. The yogi in this stage becomes aware of the unreality of the superimposed names and forms of Brahman, which are expressed by the word world. The world appears to him as a dream. He is called Brahmavid. This is considered to be his dream state. Gradually, he enters into the fifth stage where he always remains unattached to the objects of the world. He is called Brahmavidvara. In this stage, the yogi ranges from super conscious concentration himself, and he is called the superior knower of Brahman. This stage is deep sleep. When this stage is reached, all differences are resolved and the yogi abides in the absolute unity. After attaining perfection in this stage, the aspirant gradually reaches the sixth stage, namely the state of deep sleep. In this stage, the aspirant, without any thought of being or not being, ego or not ego, and with no notion of unity and or variety, remains free from mentation as pure existence only. He comes out now and then, either out of his own free will or on the request of others. Though sleeping is his awake and thought awake, and though awake he is sleep, he remains empty within and without. Like the empty jar left in the open space, he is full of within and without. Like the water jar submerged in the ocean. Antasunyah Bahisunyah Sunyakumbhaivaambare Antapurno Bahipurnaha Purnakumbhaivaambare. A person in this stage is called Brahmavid Variyan. Then he enters into the seventh stage and internally renounces all actions and does not desire anything for himself. He always possesses an inward eye, even though he may be perceiving all things with his external eyes and using his limbs in all possible way. This stage is called Turiya. He is now known as Brahmavid Varishna. In Turiya, there is double consciousness. In this stage, the Jnani identifies himself with Brahman, but he is conscious of his Sakshi, witness, state also in Jagrata and Swapna. When the knower is separate from the known, the witness stands alone. When the knower and the known become one, the witness merges in them. Here, in this stage, he becomes the supreme and also witness. He is both being and awareness. In relation to consciousness, he is awareness. In relation to universe, he is pure being. All this stage, he comes out on his own volition to grace the world. He does not wait for the future, nor remains in the present, nor remembers the past. He is full of bliss and happiness, and therefore he appears to ordinary eyes to be like any ordinary man. But in reality, though he may be doing all kinds of things, he does not delude himself into believing that he is an active agent. He is ever content without riches. Being helpless, he is very powerful. Not enjoying the senses, he is internally satisfied. The Atman in his wealth, the Atman is his wealth, power and everything. Though he appears to be doing, he is inactive. Though experiencing the fruits of his past actions, he remains unattached. Though possessed of a body, he is not identified with it. Though limited, he is omnipresent. Since he is not identified with the body, mind and senses, pleasure or pain or good or evil does not affect him. A person who attains this stage alone can work for the salvation of the entire creation, but none else. Thank you.